In the previous video, we looked at all the benefits of intermittent fasting and how amazing it is. So when you are fasting for 16 or 20 hours, you develop this autophagy. So basically your body is going to clear and clean the cells that had some mistake, some mutation, as you can see on the picture. And you can prevent the cancer and improve your metabolism. So you will be burning all the calories and potentially lose the weight and reverse the insulin sensitivity. So how to fast in a correct way? That's what I will show you on this slide. So you can see that what's important is the cruising window. So cruising window, it means what you are doing during the fasting, these 16 to 24 hours without the food, and how to actually choose which intermittent fasting is good for you or when to do it, how often to do it. So obviously, when you are more advanced, it will become intuitive. You will maybe tune into the moon cycle. So when there is a full moon, then the moon is going to decrease. And every time when the moon is decreasing, you are also decreasing the weight and you have less hunger. So you can observe the moon. Maybe you will do intermittent fasting only once a week, but you will really do 24 hours. So it can be full moon, new moon, half and half. Yeah, maybe you are already familiar with the hormone yoga therapy and you saw some of my hormone masterclasses and you are observing your menstrual cycle. So intermittent fasting is absolutely fantastic during the follicular phase. So that's from the day one when you are bleeding until the ovulation. And ovulation is, let's say, between the day 14 to 17, depending if you have a 28-day menstrual cycle. And obviously this is only for women that are not using synthetic hormones. So if you use any contraception, this is not really for you because you are not menstruating, you are not ovulating. Yeah. So if you are not using any contraception, you can observe during your follicular phase when you are building the estrogen. So this would be, for example, when you are tracking your temperature, the temperature goes down as the estrogen goes up, or maybe you are tracking your vaginal mucus, the consistency, color, when is it transparent, when is it moving a little bit more, because estrogen is anabolic hormone. It's building. It's the same like for men is the testosterone when it's building their muscle. And it basically makes you like braver and having more energy and more potent. So you see that it's much easier to do intermittent fasting because estrogen is, bringing less cravings than if you do it in a luteal phase. So luteal phase is when you are kind of preparing for the pregnancy and the progesterone goes up, and it's more the phase when you become feminine. And most probably before you get your menstrual cycle, you are craving more food and maybe indulging in more carbohydrates. So that is not optimal way to do strict intermittent fasting. So tune into your menstrual cycle. But if you are a beginner, the easiest way is to do 16-8. So 8 is the 8 hours during the day when you are eating, of course, not whole 8 hours. You have, for example, 3 meals. And then for 16 hours, you don't eat. So you can do it either in a way like I do it, which is late breakfast and early dinner. I have my first meal at 10 o'clock and I usually finish at 4 o'clock. Yeah, so I make a much stricter intermittent fasting and I do it nearly every day. But if you are starting, maybe you want to do it 3 times a week. Maybe you prefer to have a big dinner with your family at 8 o'clock in the evening. So then you will start with the first meal at 12, lunch, yeah, so lunch and then dinner. Or maybe you are an early bird and you absolutely love breakfast, so you will enjoy your breakfast at 7 o'clock, then you have a lunch at 12, and then you have your early dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you are very advanced and if you have a strong mindset, you can do OMAD, which means 1 meal a day. It is only 4 hours of a feeding window, but you eat only 1 meal a day. So let's say that you have your meal at 11 or 12 o'clock. And then for 20 hours, you are fasting. I had a client that decided to lose weight, and she lost 48 kilos in 1 year doing 1 meal a day. What a determination, 48 kilos. And she's still keeping it off. So what are the 5 factors that you need to take into consideration? It's basically your work schedule. So if you are working early in the morning and then you don't have time to eat, you would maybe want to schedule your meals in the evening. Family tradition. As I said, if you absolutely love having dinner together with your family at 8 o'clock in the evening, then that's what you take into consideration. Social commitments. If you feel obliged that you must have lunch with your colleagues or you must have dinner with your family, again, you need to work around it. So this is so individual. Workout times. Some people don't perform well in their workout if they don't eat. So again, if you need pre-workout and post-workout meal, then you need to schedule the feeding window around your workouts. And sleeping time. So sleep is extremely important, and there will be another video about the intermittent fasting and non-eating tips and tricks. But sleep, if you go to sleep at 10 o'clock, you definitely don't want to eat 3 hours before you go to sleep. So that's what you need to take into consideration as well. But let's look at the next slide about the hunger wave. So obviously, you are now eating the way you are eating, and that's your standard, and it's your safe space. Every time when you are going to implement something completely new, you are getting out of your box, out of your comfort zone, and your body that was used to a certain amount of calories and certain food is going to resist, and it's going to send the signals to your brain and to your body to go and eat and come back to the usual, the known way. So there is a physiological and psychological aspect. So physiological is what's happening in the body, the change of the hormones that then signal to the brain, and psychological is your habits, your routine that suddenly feels off track because you like to be on autopilot and do the things the way they always used to be. So there is a body hunger, and body hunger, the physiological hunger, is the rumbling in the stomach and maybe feeling dizzy, low in energy. There may be signs and symptoms almost like a flu. This is called sometimes keto flu or like fasting flu. You feel very tired and totally drained, because your body suddenly doesn't get the dose of the carbohydrates that you were giving before, but suddenly it needs to rely on the storage of fat from the freezer. And that's hell a lot of work for your metabolism to take it out and turn it in the liver into the energy. So there is this learning period. It does not happen overnight. And also, if you, for example, have unhealthy relationship with the food, if you are not eating because of this physical hunger, but you are feeding your mind, your psychological, your emotional hunger. So if you go to eat ice cream because your colleague or partner or children made you angry, and you hope that the food is going to make you feel better, it will, for a very short amount of time, because sugar increases serotonin. Serotonin is a happy hormone. It's a neurotransmitter. And for maybe 20, 30 minutes, you feel better. But then the guilt comes and the other sugar cravings come in, and it's a vicious cycle. So you need to tap into why you are emotionally overeating and what can be the alternative, what are other habits, and how you can fulfill your desire of inner peace and happiness from inside, but not from outside, not the external factors. And that will be a whole session on this, because it's mental and emotional mindset. But what I'm going to talk about are hormones and how to ride this hormonal wave. So hormones are short-lived messengers. They get released from certain glands in the body, and the only thing that they do is to deliver the message to the cell or to the brain, and then they die, they disappear. They're actually broken down by the liver and eliminated. The metabolites are eliminated from the body. So if you get hungry, it can never last for more than 30 minutes. And your body is going to give up of sending these signals of the hunger. So the hunger hormone ghrelin is not going to spike. It's the hormone leptin, the satiety hormone, that will dominate. And therefore you will feel full and satisfied, even though you were not eating, because your body taps into the storage of fat and it will send it into the liver and into the bloodstream to create a new energy. But how long does this take? So if I was to tell you that you are 24 hunger waves away from achieving the freedom from overeating and sensation of hunger, you will be counting on. You would take a pen and paper, and every time when you feel hungry, you will be like, okay, this wave is here. It's wave number 5. And you just distract yourself in some way. You go for a walk, you phone your friend, you are dancing, listening to your music, I don't know, watching your favorite program for 30 minutes, and then you realize that the hunger wave went away. And the next hunger wave might come in 2 or 3 hours. And then it's not 2 or 3 hours, it's every 5 hours, every 6 hours, every 8 hours. It basically extends because leptin will dominate. Yeah? So try to count. Maybe it will be not 24, maybe it will be 18 hunger waves or 8 hunger waves. Who knows? You are unique. What you also need to do when you are fasting is taking into consideration the social occasions and the food availability. Look, if the food is at home, there is a high chance you are going to eat it. I mean, I talk about your favorite food that is, for example, high in carbohydrates, like a chocolate or ice cream. Just eliminate it from the house so that you don't have this temptation. And with social occasions, it doesn't mean that you cannot socialize. You still want to go to the party. You still maybe go with your colleagues or friends for dinner, but it doesn't mean you have to choose there a carbohydrate food. So again, schedule it around it. If you know that on Friday and Saturday, you are going to have dinner, maybe you are fasting in the morning and then have a low carbohydrate dinner with your friends. Everything is possible. And remember that the mind gives up before the body does. It's the same with running and exercise. Your body could go for much longer. It's the mind that starts saying, hey, calm down. This is hard for me and I don't like it. It's painful. So it's all about awareness of what's happening in your mind and in your body. And then you accept that it's happening. It's okay to have hunger on intermittent fasting. It's okay to have sore muscles during the exercise because you are doing something new. You are building resilience to this. And more often you do it, better the body gets into accepting this new fact. It's all about taking action, one small steps. So what are the most common weight loss mistakes and the fasting mistakes that I see that the clients are doing? Let's look at it together. So the first one is being impatient. It's like you go fishing. You don't catch the fish, and therefore you come to the conclusion that there are no fish, there's no fish in the lake. And then you drive to another lake and you try another diet, another approach, only to have again no result. So stick to it. There are no quick results because, as you can read on the bottom, you didn't gain it all yesterday and you are not going to lose all the weight tomorrow. It takes time. How long did that take you to grow a belly fat or get into the health stage where you are? 1 year, 2 years? Well, the same might happen to get back to where you want to be. So just be patient. The other mistake is it's painful exercise is painful. Starvation during the fasting is painful. It's very uncomfortable. It brings hunger, so it equals quit. So again, if you quit, you are not going to see any results. You have to go through that. You have to motivate yourself, and preferably having somebody who will hold you accountable. So if you have a nutritionist, functional medicine coach, naturopathic doctor that specializes in intermittent fasting, maybe you can give them a quick call and they will help you. Or if you are in a program with me, you can send me a WhatsApp message and I will motivate you. Inconsistency. So intermittent fasting and weight loss, it's not a quick diet. There is no quick diet that would bring you a sustainable results. Yes, you can lose a weight 5 kilos in 1 week, but it's actually not fat. It's water and muscle, as you learned in the workshop Science of the Weight Loss. Rewatch it once more. So intermittent fasting and the sustainable weight loss, it's about changing the lifestyle. So anything that you are going to implement, if you ask yourself, am I able to do it forever without any problem, then it's a change of lifestyle and it's possible for you. Of course, there is this 80-20 rule. So 80% of your week, of your time, of your day, you are doing everything in a perfect way. And the 20% that you have maybe a dark chocolate, or you have a glass of like gin tonic with your friends on Saturday. Yeah, there is this 20% room for doing something that is not completely healthy. Another mistake is that especially women, during the intermittent fasting, they don't eat enough food. But what happens is when you are not eating enough food is that you slow down the metabolism, because the body will think, hey, I'm not getting actually enough food. So next time she gives me any piece of fruit or anything which is sugar, I'm going to immediately store it as fat and I will not let go. Opposite of this is that people think, okay, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. I will not consume carbohydrates, but I will eat lots of fat. So I will make it like ketogenic. And they eat, for example, 3 avocados per day. But that is way too much. 1 avocado per day is enough. So don't overdo it on too much fat, too much protein, too many carbohydrates, or too many calories in 1 meal. So even if you are eating only 2 meals per day, still you have to keep them relatively to like 600 calories. Don't go to 1,000 or 2,000 just because it's that 1 meal or 2 meals. And here we have to talk also about cortisol. So if you remember from the workshop blood glucose roller coaster, I was talking about cortisol being it's a steroid hormone, it's a stress hormone, and the job of cortisol is to save you away from the danger. You are running away from the tiger. When you run away from a tiger, you must have energy. So cortisol will increase the blood glucose levels. When the blood glucose levels go up, it's going to trigger the release of insulin from pancreas. And insulin is an anabolic hormone. And every time an insulin is in the bloodstream, it's going to save everything. It's not going to allow you to tap into the fridge, into the freezer, and burn fat. So making way too much exercise, which is very stressful for the body, might be counterproductive if you are doing intermittent fasting. And the same goes for corticosteroids. So when you put corticosteroids on your skin or you are using any medication, it's basically cortisol and it's going to have the same impact. So obviously you talk to your doctor if you are using corticosteroids, what time of the day you use them, so that it is not conflicting with your intermittent fasting or the weight loss goals. So the exercise that I would recommend, it's in another presentation that you want to watch. And now we talk about not eating enough salt. So when people are eating very healthily and they eat mostly vegetable, like 80% of the vegetable is very high in potassium, which is fantastic. It's alkalizing your body. But every cell of the body has sodium-potassium pump. So basically they exchange 3 natrium for 2 potassium so that the cell opens and sends away the waste product. So you must use pink Himalayan salt, little bit in the water or in every meal that you eat, so that you balance the sodium-potassium pump. And the last mistake is a wrong food combination. So in next slides, I'm going to show you how I eat and how to combine the food.